Hare Krishna. Fundamentals of Bhagavad-gita. This is overview of chapter 5, which is called Karma Yoga or Action in Krishna Consciousness. Here is the summary. Outwardly performing all actions, but inwardly renouncing their fruits, the wise man, purified by the fire of transcendental knowledge, attains peace, detachment, forbearance, spiritual vision, and bliss. The first section contains only one verse. Text 1. Arjuna wants to know which is better, work and devotion or renunciation of work. Which is actually better? Arjuna is asking, first you ask me to renounce work, then again you recommend work with devotion. Which is better? So then from 2 to 6 Krishna explains that renunciation also leads to liberation, renunciation of work, but he recommends work and devotion as superior. It is better if one mixes one's prescribed material duties with devotional service to Krishna. If one simply gives up work or which means one's prescribed material duties but engages in the process of knowledge along with devotional service to Krishna, that is okay, but work and devotional service is better than that. Because a person who is internally detached, he is said to be always renounced. Such a person, he becomes quickly, completely liberated. Here when we talk about devotional service, we are actually talking of Karma Yoga, and when we talk of renunciation of work, we are talking about the system of Jnana, which is also called Sankhya in this context. One actually applies himself to both of the paths, he attains the same result, because by studying all this one comes to the conclusion that Krishna is the source, that one has added devotional service into it. So in this process of Karma Yoga, one is engaging in one's karma without sinful activity, and therefore he is as good as a person who is engaged in analytical study. They are said to be on the same level. Note this. Whereas if you simply give up your material activities but don't engage in devotional service, you cannot progress. Then from 7 to 13 Krishna makes a different point. Krishna describes the joyous state achieved by a person who has perfectly controlled his mind and senses in devotional service. So Krishna points out that it is not that personalities who are engaged in material duties without sins in Krishna consciousness are inferior, because such people also attain spiritual perfection. They in fact progress spiritually within, even though externally they are still engaged in their material prescribed activities. Such a person, while engaged in these activities of dealing with material objects, he has internal philosophical wisdom and internal philosophical realization. So he performs his material duties without attachment, only for the purpose of purification. You should keep this in mind. Hrid Vishuddhi. This is the goal. So such a person, he attains unadulterated peace. Such a person, he controls his nature. He mentally renounces all activities. He does not actually renounce all activities. So he becomes actually spiritually advanced. And then in 14 and 15 Krishna describes the helpless condition of the spirit soul within the material world and the neutral attitude of the Lord. Important point to note is the sort of philosophical wisdom and realization this person has attained, that Krishna brings it out in text 14 and 15. That person actually philosophically understands within that he is not actually responsible directly for in a certain sense for the material happiness and distress that he is getting, because all of this is enacted by the three modes of material nature who are directly involved in being instrumental. The spirit soul's responsibility is not direct. He is responsible, though. It is not that the Supreme Lord is responsible. No. We are responsible, but we are not directly involved in this. It is material nature which is involved in this. We are ignorant. Because of the ignorance that covers our real knowledge, we are bewildered. So then Krishna, he then begins to describe, here we will see in the next section 16 to 29, Krishna describes the determination, the happiness and the existential condition of a person who seriously pursues spiritual perfection. Krishna describes that now, that when you become serious, what happens? First of all, the internal knowledge that has manifested by Krishna's grace, that reveals everything that he needs to know to attain Krishna. So when his intelligence, mind, etc. are fixed in the Supreme, he proceeds straight on the path of liberation, and he sees all the living entities with an equal vision. He does not have a vision of gradation. He considers that various species of life, all of them are, factually speaking, spirit souls who are equally servants of Krishna. So such persons who have come to this state of realization, they are said to be flawless like Brahman. Flawless like Brahman. Here Brahman refers to the Supreme Lord. So therefore they are said to be situated in the Supreme Lord. They are unbewildered. They do not get shaken by material happiness and material distress, because they are enjoying spiritual pleasure within, and that spiritual pleasure is unlimited. And because he is experiencing unlimited happinesses, he does not, this is very important, does not take part in sources of misery, does not take part in activities which produce misery. And therefore, in order to come to that status, one has to tolerate the urges of the senses. One has to be focused on attaining internal happiness. Such a person is liberated in the Supreme. In other words, he becomes qualified to perceive the presence of the Lord in all spheres of his life activities. So such a person, he is busy working for the welfare of all living beings. Those who are self-realized in that manner, they very soon get liberation in the Supreme. Now, having said that, Lord Krishna then summarizes in text 27 and 28 a process which he will explain in further detail in the next chapter, how through the process of Ashtanga Yoga one can become free from material desire, fear and anger, and he can become liberated, and then he becomes fully conscious of Krishna and becomes fully peaceful. Now one can attain this peace from the pangs of material existence by realizing that Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. Krishna is the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and that Krishna is the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. So when one realizes that, then he attains the highest perfection that he can achieve at all.